Hi, Braelon. I want to go through a couple of these inequalities and hope that you resubmit, and I will adjust your grade. So here I'm going to go over two of these, and I want you to try the third one on your own. So if we look at the first one, when you're looking at an inequality and you want to solve it for the variable, this is very similar to solving an equation. The only exception is if during one of the steps you have to multiply or divide by a negative number, then you flip the sign. So it's really important with inequalities that you go through each step one at a time and ask yourself after each step if you flip the sign. So for this one, I'm going to first undo what's added or subtracted to that variable. I'm going to undo that plus 3 and move it to the other side. And I do that by doing the opposite. So I want you to practice going through this process of solving this vertically. So plus 3 minus 3 is 0. And so on the left side, I'm just left with negative 7x. And on the right side, I'm left with negative 21. So I see a lot of negative signs. Does that mean I flip the symbol, the inequality symbol? You want to look and see what step did I just perform? I subtracted. You don't flip the symbol when you subtract. You only flip it if you multiply or divide by a negative number. So for this one, I'm going to undo this multiplying by negative 7 by dividing by negative 7. Because negative 7 divided by negative 7 is 1, or 1x. So what you do on one side, you have to do on the other. So negative 21 divided by negative 7 is 3. Do you flip the sign for that step? What did we just do? We divided by negative 7. If you multiply or divide by a negative number to solve it, then you flip the sign. So the answer is x is less than or equal to negative 3. So when you're graphing these, it's important. I'm just going to draw a little bit of this number line. I'm going to put 3 and 4 and 2. If you have an equal sign on it, if it's less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, you do a solid dot. So at 3, I'm going to do a solid dot because it's equal to 3. And then everything less than 3 goes this way. And notice at the end of my symbol, the arrowhead looks like the less than symbol. So that helps you know you're going in the right direction. Now let's look at the next one. So again, you want to get the variable by itself, this n by itself, but it's being multiplied by 1/3, and we're adding 6. So always undo what you're adding or subtracting to the variable first. So we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. So I'm going to put a minus 6 here and a minus 6 here. And if it helps you, you can draw this kind of line straight down from that inequality symbol so you can clearly see the two sides. Now, what do we have left? Well, the 6 minus 6 cancels out. So we're just left with 1/3 n. And 4 minus 6 is negative 2. Do we flip the sign? What did we do? We subtracted. You don't flip the sign for subtracting. You only flip it if you multiply or divide by a negative number. So now we need to undo this multiplying by 1/3. To undo multiplying by a fraction, you can multiply by its reciprocal because 3 over 3 and 1 over 1 cancel. Or I like to think of this as 1 divided by 3. And I'm going to undo this dividing by 3 by multiplying by 3. Because 3 divided by 3 is 1. And I'm left with 1n. What you do on one side, you have to do the other. So I'm left with 1n, or n, and negative 6. Do I flip the sign? My answer is negative. No, you only flip it if you multiply or divide by a negative number. And we multiplied by a positive 3. So it stays as greater than. Now, if your symbol is greater than or less than, without that equal sign also, then you do an open dot. So if I were to graph this and just put -6, -7, -5, then I would put an open dot at -6 because it's not equal to -6, but it's equal to everything greater than. And notice again, my arrowhead is the same. So I want you to try the third one here on your own. Now let's take a look at the word problems. Now for this word problem, you have the inequality almost there. Notice that M is the number of months, and you wrote right here that they are charged $27.50 plus $12 per month. So you multiplied 12 times M, which is good. And you said equals $243.50. But they don't want to know how many months until their total price is $243.50. They want to know how much does this have to be so that their total price is less than $243.50. So you want to put the less than symbol here. Now again, with inequalities, the way you solved it, you got the right answer. The answer is 18. But I want you to show me how you solve this vertically, going up and down, one step at a time, so that you can ask yourself after each step, do I flip the sign? So what do we move first? How do we do it? So why don't you show me that and send that in? And again, this one, you got the right answer, the 500 there, but you didn't write the inequality. So this one, remember, it says the largest number of miles. They want to know the largest number of miles. So the first step is to define the variable. And so let's say M is the number of miles. So the limo costs $525 plus 15 cents per mile. So where do I put that M? Do I put the M with the 525 or the 15? And I want you to figure that out. Do you put the M here? Is this at 525 times the number of miles? Or do you put it here? Is it 15 cents times the number of miles? Then it says that you have $600 budget. So the amount that you are charged, when you only have $600 to pay, do you want this amount to be less than or less than or equal to 600? Or do you want it to be greater than 600 or greater than or equal to 600? So two steps, decide where the variable goes and then what the symbol is here. And then solve it. Again, going down, getting that variable by itself. After each step, asking yourself, do I flip the sign? Here again, you got the right answer, 9. But we need to define our variable and the inequality and go through the steps of solving it. So we know, is it 9 or greater? Is it 9 or less? We don't know. So here, remember it says D has to collect no fewer than 388 coats for charities. She gave 64 coats to her church and donated the remaining to the local shelters. If D gives a minimum of 36 coats per shelter, how many shelters receive coats? So the variable is always the question. It's the unknown number. So let's have S equal the number of shelters. And I'm going to get you started here. So they collected no fewer than 388 coats. She donated 64 to her church and a minimum of 36 coats per shelter. So, are we multiplying 64 times S or 36 times S? And then do you want this to be less than 388 coats? Less than or equal to? Greater than? Or greater than or equal to? So decide on what that symbol is here. the inequality symbol and decide if you are going to put the S with the 64 or the 36. And then go through and solve it and try to get that same answer of 9.